You're listening to Inside the Audition, the podcast where we go behind the scenes and take a deep dive look at the world of auditioning for TV, film, and theater. My name's Joe Lars Larson.
And I'm Brandon Knox.
And we are obsessed with helping you elevate your auditions and get one step closer to booking your dream role.
Each episode, we host actors, comedians, and industry professionals who share their experiences, insights, and advice on the audition process.
From how to find more auditions, preparation and rehearsal, to nailing your audition and callback, we'll provide actionable tips and tools, systems and processes, resources and training that you need to land your next role.
We demystify the often intimidating and misunderstood world of auditions to help you succeed.
So whether you're just starting out on your acting journey or you're a seasoned pro, join us today as we go inside the audition. Well, hello there, everyone in internet land. This is episode 123, baby. You know me. This is the Michael Jackson 5 of episodes. ABC 1, 2, 3. Right? Mm-hmm. Yes, correct is the answer. I'm Lars. We got BK Broiler. Looks like he just froze for a second, but he's back and he's live.
Yeah.
We're doing it live. We got a great episode today. We're going to get into it. We are going to talk about 4 ways that you can find more auditions. Because guess what? We can talk all day long about how to improve your auditions. But if you don't got none, you're not going to book any roles. And by math, you guys know math? Brandon, you know about math, right?
I think I've heard of math.
Numbers?
Yeah.
Like many things in life, a little bit of acting is a numbers game. Or if any of you who are listening or watching have any sales experience, you'll hear things that it's all a numbers game. The more people you see, the more phone calls you make, the more doors you knock on. The more opportunities you put yourself in front of, the more at-bats you get, the more opportunities you're going to have to book those roles. So we're going to spend an episode going on a little deep dive in how to find more auditions. And this episode applies to you whether you have an agent or you don't have an agent. So it doesn't matter whether you're unrepresented. There's ways to find auditions. And even if you do have an agent and you think that's the be-all and end-all, and now you just sit back and wait for your agent to do the job, there's other things that you can be doing even with an agent to help yourself book more and find more auditions. So we are going to get into it. We should let you know, though, make sure to share this out right now with your actor friends. We're live on Facebook and we're on YouTube. So share this with your network right now. Be that actor who's sharing the positivity and sharing opportunities with your actor friends and with your network. And we should probably also say that if you're brand new, maybe your concern isn't auditioning right away. So if you're a person, if you've never acted before, you've never taken classes, we strongly suggest before you worry about auditioning that you get some training, take some on-camera classes, take some acting classes, some casting director workshops. It's a craft and it's a skill. So the last thing you want to do is a lot of people, they're chomping at the gate and they've had this dream of jumping into acting and they're like, I'm going to do it. And somehow they land in an audition, but they don't have any craft and they don't have any skills. So that would be like going to a job interview and you have none of the resume, none of the skills, none of the qualifications for the job. Quickly, you're going to burn that bridge. So take a step back if you're a person who has zero training, but you can still listen to this episode. You can take notes. You can lock all this stuff and load it for a little later after you do the classes. And if you haven't done classes, we always recommend Brandon. Who are we going to recommend today?
You know what? I think we should recommend. What about Tom Todoroff?
Tom Todoroff. Check out laughingvikings.com/Tom. You can go audit a free class. They run their workshops, which are really 3 classes in one. You get voice and speech. You also get text analysis, and you get one-on-one scene study, monologue study, audition study, cold read study with Tom himself. And make sure that you let them know that you are a friend of Laughing Vikings and Actors Audition Club when you do that, because they will treat you like the royal VIPs that you are. And for those of you who actually want to join their monthly membership, Also, let them know that you came to them through Laughing Vikings and Actors Audition Club, and you will get a special monthly rate that is much cheaper than the lower rate. Not that their rates are high. They're very reasonable for what you get. You get 5 hours of coaching every week with them. Classes are amazing. So check out laughingvikings.com/Tom. You'll often see Brandon there. You'll often see me there. And a handful of other members here at Actors Audition Club are involved with Tom's studio as well. So be sure to check them out. So now let's get into this. Whether you've got an agent or not, if you can find more auditions, get more at bats, ultimately the numbers are going to translate. Hopefully, as long as you're doing your audition work and you're crafting your performances and you're crafting your auditions properly, presumably more auditions is going to eventually equal more bookings. So, well, we got a question here before we move on.
Yep.
Okay, Charlene Richards says, any recommendations for Canadian acting teachers and classes? I mean, Tom is based in the States. It's an international class, so I would say, like Canadian or not Canadian, I would say check out Tom's classes. Here in Toronto, there's Louis Beaumonder is big. Raw with Sophie Rooney is a popular one. What are the other teachers in town?
I always highly recommend Lynn Cormack's Nailing the Small Roles class. I believe it's over Zoom now, but I think it's one of the most essential classes for a beginning actor today, because like you're gonna get sides where you have 1 or 2 lines, and like really understanding how to break that down and really understanding how you can find and pick your moments in that, I think is so valuable for actors that are really just beginning or even just very experienced actors. Like just having that skill and having that understanding when you're coming into an audition that's maybe only 1 or 2 lines is so valuable. And so I always do recommend Lynn Cormack's Nailing the Small Roles class. Karen Ivani also does a scene study class, which I've done before, and that is also fantastic. She has a website. I'll share this all in the chat right now.
Sure. Yeah. What's the other ones in Toronto I've heard of? I've got friends who've trained with Walter Alza's studio. There's another one that I'm thinking of, and I just can't remember the name of the studio too. We'll come back to that, Charlene. And I should just also make a note throughout this whole episode, there's an underlying theme of Dr. Google being your ultimate resource. You can find everything that we're going to talk about by a handful of Google searches. So Brandon's throwing some of those in the chat there. Now, 4 ways to get more auditions. We're going to start right off the bat with the casting websites. Whether you're represented or not, if you have an agent, your agent is most likely accessing a lot of these sites, and that's where they're sending you your auditions through them. But even if you do have an agent, you can still be accessing these sites to find things that maybe your agent is missing, or just to be in the loop. Maybe you want to be ahead of the curve, and then you see something and then give your agent the heads up, like, oh, I noticed they're casting for this show. Can we submit something, or can we find something for me? And especially if you're unrepresented, you can go into all of these casting sites. Some of them have free profiles. Some of them have an upgrade to paid profiles. It's my personal opinion that in most of them, that paying for the upgrade is well worth it to give you access to more of the features and to more of the opportunities. And booking 1 role out of in the entire year is going to more than cover, probably 5-fold cover your investment. Most of them are about $100 to invest in them. So we're going to throw up a list here of the regular sites. It's going to vary. All this is going to vary based on your country as well. So if you're tuning in from Europe or South America or something like that, some of these, I don't know how active they are. So I'll let you know as we go through them. So first one, probably one of the biggest one, is actorsaccess.com. Brandon will bring them up here. Most of these sites, you set up a profile, you got your headshots, you got your demo reel, you got your resume. So there's also a side note to all of this is start getting your materials ready. Make sure you've got professional headshots. Make sure you've got a professional resume, demo reel. If you don't have things like that and you're brand new, you got to start somewhere. So you'd start with classes and you'd eventually get headshots to add to it. So you want to make sure that your profiles are up to date and optimized. Maybe I would say every 6 months at minimum, maybe quarterly, worst case once a year, but I would say every 6 months to keep it up to date. Keep your sizing up to date, your headshots, your resume. As you book new roles and you book new credits, you want to update these sites and just make sure that everything is accurate as well. And so Actors Access, for example, you can go in as a non-represented actor and you can see tons of listings in your region. And the other hack that I would give to everyone is don't be stuck in your own region. If you say you live in the States and you're on the East Coast, start looking at LA stuff, start looking at Atlanta stuff, look at Chicago stuff. If you live in New York, in an age of self-tapes, you're not stuck in your region anymore. You can self-tape, at least in the first audition. Obviously, you might need to get to that region. Certain castings might say we're only accepting locals for this casting, but a lot of them are going to be wide casting. So I regularly go on Actors Access and I go in, I'll look at the New York casting, I'll look at the Chicago casting, and I'm submitting for those on my own and then letting my agent know what I'm submitting to, or I'm telling her, I saw this on the New York site. Can you submit me for this? That kind of thing. Really, all of this, you just want to think like, if you really want this and you want to be an actor and you want to be booking roles, what does all out look for you? And all out as far as your training, making sure that you're armed and dangerous as an actor, but also making sure that you're pursuing and finding these opportunities versus being someone you're just sitting on the couch waiting for an email and hoping and praying and wishing that someone's going to give you an opportunity or that you're going to be discovered in a coffee shop. All of this is at your fingertips. So actorsaccess.com is the first one. And then Casting Workbook is another big one. Castingworkbook.com. And again, whether you're represented or not, it's a great thing to go on here. If you are represented, you want to be making sure that you're excuse me, making sure that you're updating your profiles so that your agent has up-to-date stuff for you. But you can also be looking at all the listings as well. I'll be right back, Brandon. I need to grab a glass of water here. I'm choking.
Okay.
One second. Hold down the floor.
Okay. Yeah. I find the downside of Actors Access is that they make you pay for each casting that you have to go on, or like each casting that you apply for. So what I would recommend is probably, especially signing up for Casting Workbook. That is a one-time yearly fee. That's about $111, maybe $120. And you get to apply for as many as you want. And if you don't have an agent, you get to see a lot more castings. When you do have an agent, they sort of limit it down for you so that you only see a couple. But the benefit of that is that you do see a lot of the sides that are coming in for the different castings. And so you're able to download a lot of the sides and then read them and then determine maybe if you're right for that role. Maybe you can email your agent and be like, hey, can I come in for this? Or find an email for the casting agent or casting director and be like, hey, would it be all right if I came in for this? Or even better, film it, send it in and be like, hey, I did this already. Would you like to see it? Here it is. Because then it's already done. And they're like, oh, okay, well, they've already done it. They've already done part of the job for us already. Why not see it anyway? And then most of the time, they'll probably be like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll bring them in for something else. And again, it's not about this casting. It's not about making sure that you're booking this particular role that you're auditioning for right now. It's building that relationship with the casting directors so that when you do keep going and because as we talked about on this podcast before, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You're going for the long haul of this. You want them to bring you back for more auditions. And the fact that you took the initiative to read the sides, film the audition, and then send them a nice email saying, hey, I saw this. I really connected with this character. It's something I'm really passionate about. Here you go. I can't see any problem with that. And I think like they would definitely be like, okay, they're a go-getter. I want to have them back for more auditions.
Yeah, that's great advice. And there's another underlying theme to this whole thing is deciding what you want and then fighting to go get it. There's a certain level of audacity that may be required. There is also a certain level of industry protocol and how things work as well. So it's kind of finding that happy medium of working the channels the way the industry works. It's like there's a reason that there's agents, so that agents can vet talent, and then casting directors go to agents rather than being overwhelmed by 8 billion people on the earth wanting to be actors and wanting to submit to their projects. But if you're not represented, and you're a savvy human being and you do it in a polite, social way that doesn't make you look like a psychopath, where you're like, hey, I'm the greatest actor ever, put me in your movie, you got to pick me, or in a needy, beggy way where you're reaching out to a casting director saying, oh my God, no one's given me an opportunity. If I was just given a chance, please give me a chance, take a chance on me. Like, any of that energy is going to be repelling. But if it's just, hey, I'm a Toronto-based actor, I'm a New York-based actor, currently unrepresented. I noticed you're casting this, and this project. Recently, I worked on this, and this, and I'm taking classes here, and here. I would love the opportunity to audition for you, or showcase, or send you my demo, or attend your casting workshop, or whatever it may be. So just reaching out and introducing yourself. If you have an agent to do that for you, great. But if you don't, you got to start somewhere. And if you don't have representation, then you can also be doing the same thing to seek out representation. So that was castingworkbook.com. What's the next one on our list here? Another one is castingnetworks.com.
Okay.
Casting networks, and all of these they'll differentiate between TV, film, theater, commercials. So you can pick your lane. And again, this one has a paid profile and an unpaid profile. Some of them, depending on the country that you're in, will be more applicable. I know this one's probably bigger in the States. Maybe it's 50-50 between Canada and the States. Another great one, especially if you're non-union, and this one's pretty global, I think, is Mandy.com, Mandy.com, Mandy.com. And this one's great. I cleaned up on this site when I was non-union because they had a lot of paid gigs on there. I would say they paid probably between $100 and $500 for the day or a half day. So they were lower compared to union gigs. But the yearly submission to get the paid profile on this was, I think, $100. So every year that I ever paid for this site, I always got my money back in like 10, 20 fold, most likely. Like, I book a handful of gigs from this one every single year. Have you used Mandy? Did you use this on the come up?
Yeah, when I was first starting out, I checked this site every single day.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that I was up to date on what was casting and what was going out, and if I could apply to anything that was on there.
Right.
Anything and everything. And Facebook.
Yes. Yeah. We'll talk about Facebook in a minute. So we got a few more. We'll go through these ones real quick, and you can just bring them up on online. But backstage.com has a casting section in there. Stuff definitely North America, but maybe global on there as well. I think they're pretty global.
I find this one is a lot more US based, right?
Yeah, I think it's heavier in the US, that's for sure. Yeah. Castingfrontier.com is another one. Casting Frontier.
I gotta be honest, I've never heard of this one.
There you go. Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I think this one's primarily US.
Okay. Is this paid, or is this
yeah, I think pretty much every site that
most casting
has a paid. They have a free version, and then they have an upgrade version.
Okay.
Nowcasting.com is another one.
Okay. This one didn't load. I think this
Oh, is that one down now?
Yeah, the site's, I think, might be down right now.
Playbill.com.
Playbill.com. Let's bring up Playbill, see what we got there.
I think that's going to be primarily theater. Yeah, that's generally like Broadway and theater and touring theater things.
Okay, so this is another US based one?
Yeah, I think that's primarily US. The one in the I don't know the actual website. It's like ceaa.com or something.
So I'm going to share it right now. It's eDrive. You can get signed up for their mailing list, and they will email you castings to what is going on and what is being auditioned in theater. Right. So I just applied. Lars and I just applied for the Stratford Festival, Prescott. There's a couple for Aurelia.
Right. So this is Equity Theater. So Union Theater in Canada. Now, what you want to do, I know that we do have people watching, and we have members all over the world. So whatever region you're in, just Google regional sites. So literally, if you type in acting plus the name of your city or the name of your country, or auditions plus your city or country, stuff's going to come up. And then it's just going to be up to you to spend an afternoon and go through, find all those sites, find your regional sites, find the sites that you need to be on in your area, and then decide, do you want to start with the paid profile or the free one? Not a bad idea if it's a site that you're unfamiliar with, to start with the unpaid version and see how it goes. And then, or if they'll have a free trial as well. That's probably a good way to go, where you do like a 30-day free trial and you get access to everything. And then if you want to continue accessing everything, then you got to up level and pay the bill.
Charlene suggested eBoss Canada.
Yeah, that's Charlene's site. So she amalgamates a lot of the casting notices from Canada and lists them on her site as well too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I think people directly post and post their casting calls there as well, but then she sources from other places and has like a directory there too. Thank you, Charlene, for sharing that. All right. So on all those sites too, again, if you're going to be on there, make sure they're optimized, that you got your current pictures, your current resume, demo reels, everything, whatever is your best foot forward. You want to have that out there for people to see when they're cruising those sites. Number two, the second way that you can find more auditions is surprise, surprise, social media. That's where we do everything these days. This whole episode title could be just like Google/social media. So what are we talking about here? I think most likely Facebook, in the way that you can search for groups. So go on Facebook, type in casting and your city, or acting and your city, or auditions and your city, and you're going to see groups come up. They might be actor groups where it's a bunch of actors, and then they share and post resources and casting sites, or it might be specifically one casting director's page or group where they post. I know here in Toronto, Jigsaw, Powerhouse Casting, Man Casting, they all have a Facebook page where they're often posting public casting notices that you can see whether you're represented or not. So you see them on Facebook, and then you can submit to them. I would also use the social media to this is the biggest trick that I've ever had, and that's worked for me, is actually one sec here. Charlene saying eBoss is 100% free. Casting directors post their notices directly to the site or request we post it for them. Thank you, Charlene. Yeah, check out eBoss. So getting back to social media, use your contacts. So your chances are, if you've been in the business a little bit, you're going to have a bunch of actor friends. You're going to have crew, directors, ADs, producers, people that you've worked with, casting people that you've worked with on jobs that you booked. So you really want to use your network. And one of the biggest hacks that I can say that is almost guaranteed to work is when you see casting notices on social media that don't fit you, tag everyone that you know in those postings, and sooner or later that karma, that booking energy will start coming back to you, where all the people who regularly get tagged by you and they're like, oh shit, thanks, I didn't know about this. And then all of a sudden they booked a commercial that paid them 10 grand. They might just give you a little bonus for like, thank you, here's $100. Thank you for sharing this with me. Or worst case, the next time they see an opportunity, they got a little bit of that guilt because they're like, oh, this guy's always showing me the money. Let's share some love back his way. And then all of a sudden you start getting tagged in postings online too. So it's just, which is better than you tagging yourself. If there's a social posting looking for a certain type of actor, and then three different friends are tagging you 3 different times, and then you're that casting director or you're that indie producer director who's posted that casting, you're going to want to see that. So, or you're going to notice that person. So tag your friends, be that casting person. And I would say also across all of, if you're an actor, across all of your social media sites, make sure your profiles are optimized so that if people are stumbling upon you, it's going to be very clear who you are, that you are a working professional actor, and be mindful of what you're sharing and the energy that you're putting out there. You can be sharing your demos, your clips, events that you're attending. So I think generally on social media, a good strategy is just show that you are active in the industry. And I'm not talking about pumping stuff up that you're not involved in, or making stuff up. Just if you're going to premieres, take some pictures, post some pictures. If you're going to a workshop, share that. If you're in a class, share that. Do all those things so that anyone, especially casting directors and producers, agents, industry people, they're seeing, oh, this is a person making things happen. They're making things happen for themselves. They're in projects. They're supporting the industry, rather than the energy of someone who's like lost looking for a job. Oh, please, can someone help me? Can anyone give me a job? Like that energy is again going to be repelling. Anything you want to add about social media, Brandon?
I'm not sure if it'll fall into the social media category, but I think investing in IMDb Pro is also a good benefit.
Right.
And it is sort of like a social media in a way, because you get to see who is casting each different project in your region. Right. You're also seeing who's being represented by whom in your region. And it's just a good way to like have an idea of who's doing what. Right. And there's also some castings on there as well. So like it is really an all-in-one sort of place. So I do highly recommend IMDb Pro.
Yeah, I would say, especially by the time you're working professional and are represented yourself, that I think that is the number one place that anyone in the industry might look you up. If they're like, oh, what's this guy all about? What's he done? They're likely looking up your IMDb credits, maybe looking up your management or your agency on that site. So yeah, that's a great one to check. So social media, and again, it's just do the regional search, acting plus your city, casting plus your city, add the groups, add the profiles, find all the casting directors in your area. We're going to talk about casting directors a little specifically, but find the casting directors and their Facebook profiles. I would say Instagram, LinkedIn might work as well. And then just optimize your site so that people know you're working. And one thing I might say too, I see this a lot, and I get it, like everyone, especially in Canada, everyone's extra humble, and no one wants to come across as being braggadocious or cocky or anything like that. But I see some sites where I'm like, I know this person, they're a working actor, they've got a great resume, they got a ton of training, and they've said something like silly in their profile, like aspiring wannabe actor, or what, like full-time waiter, part-time actor, or sometimes I act when people pay me money, or something. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of meant to be a joke. But also, I think a lot of the times people are really downplaying and downselling the professional that they are. So I think represent yourself accurately on both ways. Don't pump yourself up if you've never done a single thing and you're like, I'm Joe Schmo, professional actor, and you've never taken a class and you never have a credit and you've never had one audition. Then that doesn't make sense. But the flip side to the extreme is people who have this brilliant career and are super talented and super professional, and they have a track record and they have a network of people, and they're just downplaying and really underselling themselves can be a self-esteem or a self-worth thing where it's like, well, who am I? I'm just a schmuck kind of thing. So I would really watch that in your, and I've come across those regularly where someone, and I'm thinking, if I didn't know this person as an actor and then I read their profile, I wouldn't see them as a professional. I would see them as an amateur kind of wannabe, like, oh, sometimes I play make-believe or something like that, they say. So I would just look at your profiles from a third party, or even maybe get some other people to look at your profiles and be like, if you didn't know me at all and you were an actor, director, producer, casting director, and you stumbled across my site, what's the impression that you get of me? Do I appear to be a working professional in the industry? And I would always lean to positivity too on social. If you're being super divisive on social media and you're always complaining and you're moaning and groaning and bitching and complaining about the state of the industry and the state of your agent and the state of all that stuff, it's just bad energy. So keep it positive, keep it upbeat, keep it constructive. Not to say that you like, there's shit going on in the world, so everything is not rosy all the time, but if you're going to lean a little bit one way, then lean positive rather than negative, I think. All right, number three way to get more auditions is just directly with casting directors. Obviously, casting directors are a bit of a gatekeeper here. So unless it's a student film or an indie film, chances are, if it's professional television, film, theater, or commercials, there's going to be a professional casting director with casting assistants and an actual process that they work through. But if you're unrepresented, you can still access these people. They're still human beings. But like I said, a little bit of a caveat is there's a way to do things and there's a way to not to do things. So it's finding that line of being friendly and positive and ambitious, but not off-putting or needy or too hey, look who the fuck I am, you may not know me, but you're going to know my name soon kind of thing, like that kind of energy. So every casting director in your area, you can find their casting websites, you can find their social media pages, you can figure out on their site, sometimes they might have a submission email, or just a light introduction where it's just, like I said before, hey, so-and-so, want to introduce myself. I'm a working actor in XYZ market, and I noticed you're casting this, and this. I love those shows. Those are great. Congrats. Currently, I'm training with this class and this class, and I've been on this show, and this show, and in the summertime, I've got a run of theater shows, blah, blah, blah. Here's some tickets. That kind of thing, where you're just lightly introducing yourself and saying, hey, I'd love to come in and I'd love to be seen. And I would make sure that when you do that, if those are casting directors, that if there's a way for you to know which sites they cast from, and if they're a professional casting director, they're probably using Actors Access, Casting Workbook, or Casting Networks. Have profiles on those sites already set up too, so that in your introduction email, you can link to those sites, and then they can immediately start reviewing your stuff. And yeah, share that you're going to industry events. If you see casting directors that are at industry events or doing panels, often they'll be doing workshops or like talk back sessions to new agents. My experience with casting directors, they're great. They love the industry and they love actors. All of them love actors, and they couldn't do their job without actors, and actors need them for the opportunities if it's a project that has a hired casting director. So I think they're human beings that you can approach, and
they're also really in the same boat as we are.
Yeah.
Because they're also applying to be the casting director for these films, for these TV shows. They're in the same boat as us.
Right.
They're in the same boat as performers. They're in the same boat as directors, in the same boat as writers. We're all pitching.
And we're all solutions to each other's problems as well, too. It's like actors want jobs, casting directors have access to jobs, but casting directors need actors to fill those jobs. So it's a very symbiotic, mutual relationship here. I'm going to go back to a comment from Charlene. Charlene just said, just wanted to circle back to acting teachers. There's an eBoss directory that contains a list of Canadian acting teachers and coaches. There's the link. So if you go to ebosscanada.com/listing/training, or just type in ebosscanada.com and you'll find their directories.
I actually have a question to that. I'm not sure if Charlene is still listening. Do you have a directory for studios that do self-tapes? Just curious.
They might. Yeah, we need to be added to that.
Yes. That would be something. That might be something to look into. Also, if you're free, Charlene, we would love to have you on this podcast as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, reach out, Charlene.
Yeah.
Okay. So casting directors, just go straight, like I said, to sum up, casting directors, go straight to the source. But again, be very delicate with how you approach them. You don't want to spam them. You don't want to bug them. I wouldn't do a generic letter to everyone. I would make it customized to each individual casting director, so you can reference projects that they're casting and things that are specific to their casting company and or their city. And what was the other thing I was going to say too is, and if you don't hear from them, just understand that they're swamped and their focus is going to be casting the project that they're currently casting, and their focus may not be year round looking for new unrepresented talent. But don't take the fact that they don't reply as, oh, fuck you, you're untalented, don't ever contact me again. It's, I would say, anyone, whether it's an agent or anyone in the industry, if you reach out, then I don't know, give it a month, 2-3 months maybe, and then with new information, circle back to them and, hey, how are things? Hope this went well for you, or hope you had great holidays. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm in this new show, or I just took this new class. I've got this new showcase coming up. I've got some tickets to it. I'll leave your name at the door if you're able to come make it. Like little things like that. Just fun, little polite, short check-ins, and not like, if you're going to email these people, don't send them an email where it's like, here's my life story, giant paragraph with no punctuation and no spacing. It's just a couple quick blurbs so that in 30 seconds they can scan it. Maybe they click on a link to see a demo if you're lucky, or a resume. But yeah, keep it real brief, and then move along. And sooner or later, one of them is going to have you in, and then you met a casting director that has access to more auditions and more opportunities. All right, number 4 is getting an agent. If you don't have an agent, then getting an agent is going to open a lot of new doors. We're not going to go too far into depth today. We've done previous episodes about how to get an agent and how to approach them. In a nutshell, a referral is the best way. So find actors that you know who are represented by an agency that you're interested in, and see if they can give you a soft intro via email is one of the best ways. Often the sites will have submission emails as well, although that's kind of like a cold call. So chances are that's going to be maybe unreturned, but who knows? Again, take all the swings you can get. So I would never tell someone, don't cold email an agent. Why not? Do it, and maybe you're the one person out of 1,000 that they answer a cold email and they like your stuff and you fit their roster, and all of a sudden that you're signed by them. But if you have an agent, so for all the actors out there who have an agent, I think a big part of getting regular auditions, you're only one client on your agent's roster, and they might have 50, they might have 80. So how are you going to remain in top of mind? They can't just, like, by the mental math, your agent is not going to be thinking about you all day long, every day, 7 days a week, 365. You're going to be thinking about your career every day, but they're not. So how do you get into top of mind with them? I think one of the ways is have regular communication, regular meetings. Again, you don't want to overdo this where you're hounding an agent every day, being like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Like, you don't want to have that energy with them either. Like, you got to just trust them to go do their job. But having regular meetings, maybe every 6 months, maybe quarterly, regular communication, updating them when you update your training, when you update your resume, when you update your headshots, so that your agent always has front-facing best representation of you right now. So you can really help your agent out by doing that. But just by having that regular meeting of, okay, what are you submitting me for? Do you have all the materials you need? Are my marketing materials up to date? Is there anything that I haven't been submitting for that we could? Are there casting directors that don't know you in the region yet? So taking one of the best things to do is just take stock of all the casting directors that you have seen in your area, all the ones that you haven't seen in your area, and then after that, go beyond your area, go to other regions or even other countries. But look at the casting directors who haven't seen you, and then figure out a plan of attack. Like, how do I get seen? Maybe your agent needs to do a little bit of a push. So you put all your materials together, your headshots, your demo, your resume, and then the 5 casting directors that haven't seen you yet, your agent sends an email blast, or I would suggest an individual email, not a blast, but an actual campaign to be like, hey, want to introduce you to one of my star clients. Here's her stuff, his stuff. I think he'd be great for this show, and this show. And then next thing you know, you're being brought in by that casting director. Again, there's a time and a place for that. But if you've never had that meeting with your agent, you're probably due for one. So that's a card that you can play. Like, let's see who are all the people that need to know I exist in my market right now, and start getting into those rooms and being intentional about getting into those rooms. Let me see what else I could say about. I had a couple notes here about agents. I guess the other thing with your agents is just be reminding them about your goals too. Make sure your agent knows what you want, the type of work you want, the type of roles you want, what you actually aspire to, and make sure they know at all times what you're doing on your end as far as training. Like, agents and casting directors love actors who are constantly in class and constantly training and bettering themselves. So that's one of the best things that you can do, is just be letting your agent know that I'm in this class, I'm taking this class, I'm going back to this. Oh, by the way, here's new headshots. Oh, by the way, here's a new demo reel, sizzle reel, so that you're just giving them all the best things. And then what happens anytime I've ever had one of those meetings, it's like, whether it's a meeting with a casting director at a workshop or my agent, is right away there's an instant little uptick. There's a little spike and a boost, just because you're top of mind. They're thinking of you, and they can't always be thinking of all 80 people on the roster at any given time. So the more you have those little touch points, even if it's just sending a thank you email to them, they did get you in a room. And this applies to casting directors too. Send a thank you card, a thank you email, a thank you note, attend an industry event, and walk up to them and say, hey, just wanted to say how much I appreciate you. You gave me that opportunity to go in and audition for the show, and it was a dream come true, and I booked the role and changed my life. Like, that's like, for a casting director or an agent, that's gold right there. Is tell them how you changed their life, and they're like, oh, maybe I'll help this guy change his life even more. Anything you want to add about agent stuff?
One thing that I did add last year was a theme. I really, really enjoyed The Last Dance, and I really enjoyed how Phil Jackson would come up with themes for each year. And so my theme last year was Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. And it was a fun thing to have, that it really bonded us. It really put me and my agents really together, and like, we were all fighting for the same thing, and like, we collectively knew what we wanted and what we were going for, and that was great. I really liked that, and I'm going to continue it this year.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a theme here too, is team. It can be a very lone wolf career, and you're a solopreneur in a way, and an entrepreneur, but also so is your agent, and really so are casting directors. So if your agent is starting to feel a team vibe with you in a good way, that you're a strong team, and even in your email sign-offs, you've got your little slogan or your catchphrase or your little inside jokes with them, then they're going to start feeling like, oh, I'm on Team Brandon here, not just agency team, and I spend my time staring at a computer all day submitting actors who don't give a fuck about me. Like, you want to be the relationship, like any relationship, is going to be mutual, right? So make sure that you have a good communication with your agent. You know what they need, they know what you need, and then it evolves too. So make sure that you're having those meetings every 3 months to 6 months. So I think that's it for today.
Yes. Charlene did get back to us about directories. So the directory contains self-tape studios, personal coaches, producers, directors, etc. It's a directory of companies and personnel who work behind the scenes. And then here's the link right here.
There you go. Beautiful. We'll have to make sure we're added to that. Great. ebosscanada.com/listing. All right. So actors out there, again, whether you're represented or not, if you want more auditions, there's a certain level of gumption that will really help you. And that's by going out there and making things happen, using your connections, and just being really like hungry for those opportunities. Or maybe you're at a spot where you're happy and you're getting what you need and you can just sit back and wait for your agent to come through. But then that's very passive. And that can also get very frustrating where you're feeling like, oh, shit's not happening for me. And there's nothing I can do about it. Well, there is something you can do about it. You can go on the casting websites, you can go on social media, you can directly reach out to casting directors, and you can strengthen your relationship with your agent so that, like, I think if you did, if everyone watching this right now did all 4 of those things all out, there's no way that that's not going to result in more bookings, because it'll result in, like, if say that resulted in 10 extra auditions throughout the year. If you're booking 1 out of 10, that's 1 extra gig, and then who knows where that gig leads to. So there's more work right now. There's more TV and film being produced and video games. Like, to be an actor right now, there's more projects with all the streaming services. I think there's like 600 TV shows being produced right now for all the different streaming platforms. There's more movies than ever. Like, whether you're non-union or union, there's more things happening right now, and there's more out there, and it's a choice. Do you sit back and only get the opportunities that fall in your lap or that your agent gives to you, or do you decide, hey, I'm really hungry, I'm going to be proactive, I'm going to go to all these sites, I'm going to optimize all my profiles, I'm going to join all these groups on Facebook, I'm going to reach out to all the casting directors in my area that don't know me, I'm going to have regular meetings with my agent to make sure that they have everything that they need to get me these auditions. You crank up the dial on all those things, and it's going to result in more bookings for you, presuming that you know what you're doing and you have the craft and you have the skill and some talent. But we've talked about that already. So don't burn bridges by auditioning for projects that you have no business being a part of if you've never taken an acting class and you don't know what an audition is and you don't know how to slate and all that kind of stuff. But start with classes, and then this would be the next thing. It's like, and then it's improve your auditioning. So if you have 100 auditions in a year and you're booking 1 out of 10, well, you can double your auditions and do 200 in a year, and all of a sudden you're going to book 20 instead of 10. Or you can improve your craft and improve your audition technique. Come to a studio like Actors Audition Club and get some help, where you have a director working with you to craft and hone your audition. And then all of a sudden you're booking 1 out of 5. So that original 100, you're booking 20 of those. So then it's all of a sudden you're dialing up 2 things, where you're improving your actual auditions that you do get, which is going to improve your booking ratio, but you're also getting more auditions by being hungry and audacious. And those 2 forces combined, you'd end up quadrupling the amount of roles that you booked in the year by improving your auditions and improving and increasing the number of auditions. It's just math, Brandon. It's easy math. It's math. Like anything. And then the other thing that I would add too, and this is something that I haven't done diligently in the past, but whenever I have, it has really affected me and really motivated me, is keeping track of your auditions so you do know your numbers. So you know how many, your agent might know how many you've been submitted to, but you should at least know how many you've had. Then you should know callbacks, and then you should know your booking, how many you booked, so that you have these ratios, and then you can just work the numbers back. If you realize, okay, I had, just keep it simple, I had 100 auditions last year, and you figured out that you booked 15 of them, well, you book at a 15% ratio. So then you know, okay, if you're going to get another 100, that'll yield you potentially on average 15 more gigs. Or you realize, oh shit, maybe 15% is not where I want to be. I want to take more audition classes and more training. And then you start bumping that ratio up to 20% to 25%. And then even if you don't get more auditions, you're going to get more gigs. So it's reverse engineering that math and having those goals and keeping tracks like sports, really. It's like, there's nobody in any professional sports league that doesn't know their average or the shooting percentage or their goals against or whatever the sport is, you know your stats and you're measured by them. And then also what you pay attention to, you can't improve. There's a quote, you can't improve what you don't measure, or what gets measured can be improved. If you have no idea what your booking ratio is and your numbers, then you're just kind of you're sort of playing blind. So making sure that you know those numbers and you know your stats, so that then you can proactively improve things. How's that?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I completely agree with you on the stats part, but
how so?
I get where you're coming from.
Well, it's not going to be. It's not an exact science. That's the thing. But overall,
I mean, statistically, most ACTRA performers do about 9 to 10 days on set a year, and like that may be one booking, that may be 3 or 4, but like I don't know. I'm not sure if like looking at like the full statistic of like callbacks and regular auditions is beneficial.
How could it not be? What it is a commitment to reality. You know exactly what happened. You know, I had X number of auditions, I had X number of callbacks, I had X number of bookings, and I spent X number of days on set. If you don't know that, you don't know, you have no way of, you don't have an accurate look at, I mean, it would also be like a business not knowing what's in its bank account. That's part of it as well, too. It's like, if you're a business, you need to know those things. Now, I'm not saying that you judge yourself solely based on that. Like, you don't look at it and then beat yourself up. And it's also art, so it's not an exact science as well. But neither is sport. Sport arguably is half science, half art as well, too. So it's just something that if you're not aware of that, how many, like, to not know how many auditions you had, how many callbacks you had, how many bookings you had, you don't really have any sense of your success ratio in those hard terms. Now, there's other things that you can, if you're growing and you're learning and you're living and you're taking classes, obviously all that can be categorized in the success bucket as well. But to not know those things is, you're not really fully committed to your reality, and it's very tough to have goals. It's like you can't have financial goals without knowing how much money is in your bank account.
True.
How you ever going to hit it? You're like, well, I'm just hoping for more money. Maybe I'll get more money. Well, how much? By what date? How much do you have now? What's the difference? How many years is that going to be? Okay, well, you need to save this amount of money between here and then. So yeah, I think it's not the be all and end all, and then it's also not going to translate directly as well. So if you figure out in a year, oh, I booked 20% of my auditions, you might have 100 auditions in the next year and not book 20% of them. It's not going to map exactly. But if you're steadily improving your craft, if all else is equal, if you're getting the same amount of auditions, then you'd hope over time your number of auditions or your number of bookings is improving. But also we've talked about this many times too, is there's a lot of reasons outside your own performance that you might not book a gig too. So you could have the best year, the best audition year of your life, where your performances were stronger than they've ever been, and the work you put on those auditions was stronger than you've ever been, and you're at an apex in your performance career, but those bookings just didn't happen for one reason or another. So it's a little bit of both, but I would say it's not going to hurt to know the reality of how many, especially for your agent. You'd be like, how many, like, how do you evaluate your relationship with your agent if you don't know how many submissions, how many auditions, how many callbacks, how many bookings? It's like that especially for an agent, it's like, what are they getting 15% of? You got to map that back to submissions, auditions, callbacks, and bookings. Shannon Kelly says, keep track of who's called you and who hasn't. Go even deeper and track what types. Yeah, so you can break it down by TV, by film, by commercial. You could branch that into the actual casting directors, as we talked about, so that you know, like, oh shit, I book with this casting director for commercials. I book 1 out of 2 auditions, and so you might look at your career or especially look at your finances and be like, what's a quick way for me to make more money this year and get more bookings? Get more auditions with that casting director for commercials, because your numbers map, versus you might have another casting director for something else that you've been seen 50 times by them, and you've never booked anything. Now, that doesn't mean that's not necessarily your fault or the casting director's fault. The casting director is not the one ultimately casting you, but they're bringing you in and putting you to a short list. So I think it's helpful to have an awareness of that. And then you might even reach out to that casting director and be like, hey, I just wanted to reach out and say, maybe you saying thank you, be like, shit, I just did my math, and last year I had 10 auditions with you and I booked 4 of them. Or you might say, I've actually been seen by you and I love auditioning for you. And you might loop your agent into this call, but you might end up getting some feedback from the casting director. Be like, you saw me 50 times last year and I didn't book any feedback. And they might say, oh, we fucking love you here. Your auditions have all been incredible. We always put you forward to the short list of the directors and the producers, and they've just chosen a different direction. Or they might say, yeah, I brought you in a lot last year and haven't brought you in much this year because of this, and this. I would suggest working on this, and this. You might get some feedback from a particular casting director. Charlene says,
some actors also keep track of what they wore to an audition. If they get a recall, they may want to see that look again. Selfie time. I love that, by the way. And then we also have Shannon Kelly, who also says, also points in a direction you can work on. If you're not being seen for anything dramatic or gritty, maybe work on that aspect of your reel or headshot. That's also another great point. Yeah, no, I'm really starting to see where it is beneficial. It's almost like the idea of you take more shots than you get in, like, especially when you're looking at a sports aspect, like, especially if you do take 100 shots, like all those shots are not going to go in. And so you want to keep firing on all cylinders. And also, I want to go back to the point of tracking who and who hasn't called you in. I love to say this industry is a lot about little victories. And when you're tracking who and who isn't seeing you, that's a huge victory for you. And looking at those little aspects of it will really, really help you. So thank you, everyone. I'm really starting to see where everyone's coming from with this. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and you're doing this. I mean, you're getting some math numbers, but you're also just getting people, like, you're getting a good look at your network. And again, this is like any business. It's first what you know, and then it's who you know. And if you have a track record of doing good work and being a good person on set, then you're going to get repeat bookings and good word in the industry about you. But then you can really lean on some of those relationships where it's like, you don't need, a lot of people think like, oh, you got to meet Martin Scorsese to be successful, or often people think that the person that's going to help them is someone that's like way ahead of them, like someone who right now is a Hollywood A-lister is going to magically pluck you out of obscurity. Chances are you've already worked with the person who could be the person that makes a big chunk of your career through a collaboration, a director, an assistant director, another casting director, somebody that's worked with you on set, someone that was a PA on a project that you worked on, and now they're producing their own things, and now they're a director. Like those, keeping track of those relationships and nurturing them, even reaching out to some of these people. We didn't mention this, but I guess sort of falls under the social media banner, but producers, directors, actors, everyone you know that's making things a couple times a year, it's not a bad idea to reach out and be like, hey, congrats on this, and this. I noticed you're working on this, and this. Here's a couple new things I've been working on. Would love to work with you, or would love the opportunity to audition for you. I would never be so audacious to ask that one of my friends just book me without an audition on their thing. If that happens, great. But just to have an opportunity to work with someone that you've already worked with. So reach out to directors that you have worked with and just say, hey, keep me in mind. Let them know where you are regionally. If you bounce around from city to city, just be like, hey, I'm going to be in Vancouver in the spring. if you got something cooking, then let me know. Would love the opportunity to audition for you. If you did that, like that could be another 50 emails or messages that you shoot out. But again, in the proper energy, not in a needy, beggy, oh please give me work. The industry is so hard. I'm a victim. Help me out energy. But just like, I see you're cooking. I know that I'm cooking. We're doing good stuff. It would be really fun to work together. Shoot me a message if it works out, or let me know when you're casting something. Charlene says, did you go over all this one already, or did you?
Not this one.
Charlene says, hey guys, just want to circle back to agents. The eBoss directory contains a list of Canadian agents and how to submit. The list is updated monthly. Here's the link. So one of the notes is just add eBoss Canada for you Canadians, and maybe even for international people. Like I said, I think the more you're looking globally these days, the better. You're not stuck in your own region. You can certainly self-tape from a distance. Obviously, there might be work issues and visa issues potentially, but you have access to the stuff. So I would access as many markets as you can possibly access. All right.
All right. I think
good for today.
Yeah.
Well, this has been, and if you have new ideas too, if we have sites that we missed or suggestions, tricks, tips, hacks, things that you've done to get auditions, especially anything that's a little more rogue or not the usual path to get an audition, we'd love to hear about it. So hit us up on Instagram at Actors Audition Club. And shoot us a message there. We're also on TikTok at Actors Audition Club too. So for you TikTokies, make sure to get on TikTok. And for those of you who want to check out our free audition workshop, where you can learn how one actor went from stressful DIY self-tapes to booking a Hollywood blockbuster and 2-series lead, all in 12 months, you can go to laughingvikings.com/audition-hero, and you get instant access to our audition training series that we did a while back. And for those of you who want to join the wait list, we're going to be opening it up real soon. I haven't set a date yet, but we're going to open up the membership again. We'll do another new enrollment. We've got a bunch of people on the wait list right now, but you can go to laughingvikings.com/join, and you'll be on the priority notification list to get notified when we do open up the doors. But you'll get access before the general public gets access, so that you too can join Actors Audition Club and tap into the strategies and tactics and systems and processes that today's working actors are using to book more roles and eventually book your dream role in television, film, and theater. Yeah. So make sure to hit the smash the subscribe button, do all those things. This has been episode 123, how to get more auditions. And we'll see you next week on Inside the Audish.
Goodbye.
I'm going to go get a haircut. Look at this.